Hello students, in previous class we started NMR spectroscopy. Today we will discuss chemical shift in NMR and factors affecting chemical shift. Chemical shift. The NMR spectrum is a plot of intensity of NMR signal versus magnetic field frequency in reference to standard TMS. Unlike UV and IR spectroscopy, where the direct value of the wavelength is given and a signal is there, but here the signal is always with reference to a reference material. The reference material which is used here is TMS, that is trimethylsilane, CH3 4Si. This is used as the reference material because it is having 12 hydrogens and all 12 hydrogens are having same environment. As here the structure of the TMS is given, this one is the structure of TMS, and here you can see that all 4 sides occupied by the 3 hydrogens. So there are total 12 hydrogens and all hydrogens are first attached with the carbon and then Si. So the environment is same. Environment, that means the bond length, the force acting on the bond, the inductive effects, etc. So all are feeling same environment and all hydrogens are equivalent. So we can say that all hydrogens are equivalent and all hydrogens give a single signal for the hydrogens. So obviously the intensity of this reference will be the highest because it responds to the 12 hydrogens. Intensity, that means the height, this peak height. More the peak height, more the number of hydrogens in the same environment. So here 12 hydrogens in TMS in identical environment present. It is also inert compound and that's why it does not interfere with any other analyte. Then it is miscible with all organic substances. Like I want to check NMR spectra for X compound and it is soluble in a Y solvent. So I require the reference also which is soluble in Y. And this is the best property of the TMS, that it is soluble in most of the organic substances. So whenever the solvent we are using for the environment, TMS is easily soluble in that. It is also highly volatile. Highly volatile, that means it can be easily removed from the sample after the analysis as it is highly volatile. So TMS is the best reference material which is used for the chemical shift in case of 1H NMR. I already discussed that there are different type of NMRs on the basis of the hydrogen or carbon, etc. Most common is 1H NMR and carbon 13 NMR. Here we are talking about the 1H NMR. Then the chemical shift in absolute term is defined as the frequency of resonance expressed with reference to a standard compound which is defined to be at 0 ppm. That means always the signal of the TMS is on the 0 ppm. Clear? So we arbitrarily taken as 0 for the reference and other signals are with respect to that TMS only. The formula for calculating the signal site is frequency of signal minus frequency of reference. This frequency is radio frequency. That means at particular frequency which absorbed by the signal, that frequency, and then the frequency of reference, that means the radio frequency which is absorbed by the reference. These two frequencies, first we subtract the frequency of reference from frequency of signal, then divided by spectrophotometer frequency which is a fixed, then into 10 to the power 6. So the value of delta, which is known as chemical shift, will be in terms of ppm because we are going to multiply it with 10 to the power 6. So always it comes in the ppm and it is shown by the delta. Sometime another scale which is known as the tau scale is used. So tau is equals to 10 minus delta. If we are going to use the tau scale, then it will be is equals to 10 minus delta. So finally the chemical shift is a dimensionless. Dimensionless, that means there is no dimension of this. We are not going to give any frequency value or any wavelength value, etc. Expressed in parts per million, as I already told you that we are going to multiply it from by 10 to the power 6. So it is in parts per million, and alternative system used as tau scale, that is tau is equals to 10 minus delta. So overall NMR spectra is shown by a graph again, but here we are not going to give any lambda value or frequency value or wave number value. Okay, always it is with reference to a reference material, and it is compared always. The formula used to calculate the chemical shift is delta is equal to frequency of signal minus frequency of reference upon spectrophotometer frequency. Frequency of signal, that means for the sample, into 10 to the power 6. So this is overall about the chemical shift. Now the question arises that we are always checking for hydrogen only. And as in other case, like if I am talking about the IR, it shows different type of functional groups. Here what type of message we are getting by only checking the H in the compound? So there are some factors which influence the chemical shift. Like how only hydrogen gives different signals, different peaks in the NMR spectrum. All are hydrogen. So what are the different factors? Obviously there are some reasons that influences the chemical shift. These are known as shielding and de-shielding. Shielding and de-shielding, that means shield, you know, shield means protection, and de-shielding means removal of the protection or something which is increasing the environment or which is decreasing the environment. So here first is shielding. The higher the electron density around the nucleus, the higher the opposing magnetic field to BO from the electron. So obviously if the electron density around the nucleus is more, the magnetic field which is felt by the nucleus will be less, because the electrons act as shielding material. Electron shield, as we are going to apply a magnetic field and it is not directly goes to the nucleus. Obviously in the path there are some electrons which may shield the nucleus. So it is giving a shielding effect. Because the proton experience lower external magnetic field, because those protons are shielded by the electron. So obviously it needs a lower frequency to achieve the resonance, and therefore the chemical shift is a field or the value is lower. That means the delta value will be lower. Here it is also shown by a diagram that this one is isolated nucleus and this is magnetic field. If the nucleus is isolated, the complete magnetic field is felt by the nucleus, and according to that it will give -half and +half value, and the difference between these two values are higher or slightly different. Obviously to flip from +half to -half requires a different radio frequency, but this is not practically happened. What happened? The nucleus is surrounded by a cloud of the electrons. So if the nucleus is surrounded by the cloud of electron, obviously the external magnetic field is not completely felt by the nucleus. So the difference between +half state and -half state is different as compared to the hypothetical value, because hypothetically what we standardized that the nucleus is directly kept into the external magnetic field. But practically it has not happened. Between the nucleus and external magnetic field, there are some electrons which affect the difference between plus half state and minus half state. So obviously, actually the requirement of radio frequency is slightly different to flip from the lower state to the higher state. Now, if there are number of electrons more between the external magnetic field and nucleus, it is more shielded. If it is more shielded, the signal appears at a field that is lower ppm value on the right side. It will appear. Second is de-shielding. De-shielding is just opposite to shielding. Like if there are lots of electrons, then it is shielded. But if there is less number of electrons, or electrons are moved other side due to presence of any other effects like hydrogen bonding, inductive effect, etc. If the electrons move towards different side, in that case the nucleus is de-shielded, because nucleus will felt more external magnetic field as compared to the shielded time. So it always depends on the environment of the hydrogen nucleus, that it is in which type of environment. Like there are which type of inductive effect, positive I effect or negative I effect, whether a polar molecule or not, a different atoms which are attached to the hydrogen, etc. So there are lots of factors which influence the chemical shift. Next is factors influencing chemical shift. The most common factor are electronegativity and inductive effect. These two factors have the highest impact on the chemical shift. In case of electronegativity, the proton is said to be de-shielded if it is attached with an electronegative atom, because electronegative atom attracts all the electrons towards that. Like in case of HCl, if we are talking about the HCl, all the electrons of hydrogen will shift it towards the Cl. So there is less shielding, or we can say there is de-shielding. So if there is any factor due to which the electrons are removed from the hydrogen or going far from the hydrogen, in that case de-shielding happens. Then electronegative atoms remove electrons and there is de-shielding occurs. Like here you can see that in case of SiC, this is the example of the TMS. So it is having less electronegativity, and that's why it gives the signal at the lowest value, because it is properly shielded. There is no electronegative group. After that, the CC bond. The CC bond is also on the lower side as compared to the NC bond and OC bond. As the electronegativity increases, C, obviously the bond is between C and O, but it gives effect on H also, because it is transferred to the other bonds. So more and more electronegative group is attached in a compound, less shielding or de-shielding is observed by the hydrogen, and according to that you will find a signal. Like if more electronegative group is there, the signal is on left side. If less electronegative group is there, the signal will be on right side. Clear? So this is the effect of electronegativity. After that, next is inductive effect. Inductive effect is also just like electronegativity. If there is minus I effect, that means the electrons are removed, and plus I, that means electrons are not removed. So any case where the electrons are removed from the hydrogen area, it will de-shield it, and if hydrogen is having more number of electrons with it, it will be shielded. Next is anisotropic effect. This is very interesting effect, and this is also very important effect. Anisotropic effect says especially about the pi electrons effect near the nuclei. In previous that electronegative effect and plus I effect, we talked about the sigma electrons, but here the pi electrons also affect. If there is some double bond, the electrons which are associated with that double bond also shield or deshield the nuclei. So if it generates a induced field which is either oppose or reinforce the applied field. It depends upon the structure of the molecule that it will reinforce the applied field or it will decrease or oppose the applied field, and it always depends upon the location of the hydrogen nucleus. In case of alkynes, if we are talking about the alkynes, shielding occurs. Here the case of alkyne is given. In case of alkyne, shielding occurs. You can easily see that the movement of electron motion and the hydrogen which is present there. In case of benzene and aldehyde, here the benzene and aldehyde, so it will feel deshielding. Deshielding because you can see here that here the movement is in the center and hydrogen is present outside. In both cases, in benzene and in aldehyde. So in case of benzene and aldehyde, deshielding occurs, whereas in case of alkyne, shielding occurs. That's why the alkyne is found at the lower ppm value. The signal for alkyne comes between 1.5 to 2.5. That means a lower value. After that, we will find the signal for the aldehyde hydrogen, and then we will find the signal for aromatic, because the aromatic hydrogen is most deshielded due to presence of lots of pi electrons in different plane. Other factors are hydrogen bonding. Due to hydrogen bonding, the elongation of bond takes place, because if hydrogen is bonded to other electronegative atom, then obviously the previous bond, the sigma bond, is slightly elongated as electrons are attracted by the electronegative atom. If the bond is elongated, in that case obviously the density of electron decreases, and due to which deshielding occurs, and due to deshielding the higher delta value observed. Then intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bond. Obviously both will affect the value of delta, but we can easily differentiate between intermolecular and intramolecular hydrogen bond, because if we are taking NMR spectra at different concentration, in that case, by changing concentration of the solution, the intermolecular compounds give different signals, but intramolecular compound does not give different signals, because there is no effect of concentration on intramolecular hydrogen bonding, whereas effect of concentration is on intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So NMR is a very good tool to differentiate between the intermolecular hydrogen bond and intramolecular hydrogen bond. Next is van der Waals deshielding. In case of van der Waals deshielding, presence of bulky group in a molecule can cause deshielding. If a bulky group is there, in that case deshielding occurs and the weak van der Waals force and gives slightly higher value of delta. So like in case of benzene, benzene is already give a higher delta value, but if some bulky group is substituted on benzene, it will further increase the delta value more and more. Similarly, if alkyne is having at lower value, but if some substituent is present which is a bulkier substituent, in that case also the delta shifted towards the higher value. So always if the bulkier group is present, the delta value will be on higher side. This is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. In next class, we will explore some more interesting facts about the NMR spectroscopy. Thank you.